All right, so this is a very strange topic. I mean, I could be talking about electronic music that falls under the labels UK garage and UK bass. But you know what? I'm not even going to pretend to understand what those terms exactly mean. Basically, I'm more interested in talking about my, I guess, childhood memories of the early days where I was first introduced to Aphex Twin and stuff like that. And I could get deeply involved in the terminology and genre distinctions with electronic music. For example, I've heard of the term UK funky. Like, okay, basically, I was not really into any scenes. It was just me. I first heard "Come to Daddy" by Aphex Twin, right? And I still don't know exactly what genre that falls under. But I do know that it was electronic music, sometimes ambient. And as far as I know, it's fair to say that electronic music in general evolved to some degree interdependently and to some degree independently from the music of what might be called a vibrant community of like minded producers, DJs, and MCs and such. And, you had boiler room clubs and raves and God knows what else happening. And, you got plenty of proto genres that have been cited as an influence on UK bass and this sort of electronic thing or that. Whatever. For me, all that stuff was just I was growing up in a puny little town, and I got a CD of Aphex Twin, and I really didn't know about all of this stuff. I just thought it was interesting music, right? And that's kind of me being ignorant, but also being pure. Like I didn't really care about all these different show off and flashy technical distinctions between this sound or that. I just know that electronic music styles are sometimes blended together, and back in the 90s, you even had some of it being blended with alternative rock, as with the band Happy Mondays, which I didn't really listen to when I was growing up. By the way, I only heard of Happy Mondays years later, but I did have the Spawn soundtrack, which had some techno music interspersed with rock bands, and that's actually a pretty interesting soundtrack. So, I mean, obviously you could school me on like the difference between UK garage and UK bass, or how aligned they are with each other or whatever. I've also heard of the grime scene in London, and I guess there was an international push following the success of musicians like Skepta and Kano. I don't know. Are they even considered musicians? Is a DJ actually considered a musician? And I don't know exactly. And I know that going back to Avix Twin, I know that he's actually a composer. He plays piano. Like he actually has some compositions that are for prepared piano, very John Cage like, with some of his recordings anyway. So he's not just somebody who like fiddles around on a laptop. From what I gather, like Richard D. James, also known as Aphex Twin, actually can play some conventional instruments. I don't know if he does it that much, but I've heard the recordings. But anyway, like you've got stuff like Grime, you know, UK bass, commercial success. Then you've got a variety of mainstream artists such as Kid Cudi, who I guess has grime style remixes. You have Example, Goldie, and Crepton Conan, which which is a I I can't say I've actually heard these people yet, but I've done a little bit of research trying to, like just get the basics of who are the stars of some of these genres, or subgenres, I suppose. And it is interesting to see how all of these things get jumbled together, and sometimes you get differentiated. Some people have a deference for one subgenre over another. And I suppose you could say the same thing about rock music, of course. Like, metal has so many different subgenres that it could almost make your head spin. And even punk rock, like I've said before to people that I've talked about punk rock with, I mean, the Ramones actually sound substantially different from the Sex Pistols, and both those bands sound different from the Clash, and all of those bands sound different from the Dead Kennedys, and they all sound different from the Misfits to some degree. So like even the Misfits and the Ramones, like you can definitely tell them apart, and so on and so forth. And you've also got people who say what makes grunge is that the band is simply from Seattle, which is strange to me because it just seems like a bullshit genre distinction to me to just say, oh, you had to have been from Seattle in order to be grunge. Like, really? Because even the Chicago blues style is actually more of a style than just saying you had to have come from Chicago, right? Like, there are actually some aspects to it that make it distinct from just the location that it originated from. They use Chicago because that's where it kind of emanated from initially, or originally, or where it's known to have origins, I should say. But, I mean, really what makes Chicago blues isn't just that it came from Chicago. Obviously, blues comes from elsewhere. But the Chicago part is supposed to be like, it's high energy or something like that, and it's electric. They're not electronic, but electric guitars that apparently are louder or something like that. Maybe even have distortion. But anyway, I'm speaking well beyond my expertise here. This is all theoretical as far as I'm concerned. I'm no expert on any of this stuff. Maybe I got all of this stuff wrong. I don't know. But yeah, you can feel free to correct me. Social media, just look my name up or whatever, and let me know how wrong I am with anything that I've said here today. All I know is I did not have experience with raves or anything like that when I was growing up in my puny ass little town. But I did get to see, Aphex Twin on MTV, and that music video to Come to Daddy was like, holy shit, that's cool. I wanna actually get this CD now. And so I did. And that was really one of my first experiences with electronic music, I suppose you might say. So, alright, I've been babbling for long enough, and I could go on and on, but that's about all I need to say about it for now. Have a good day.